Hello, everyone. Master Mirrorkall here. And today I just wanted to talk about and kind of do a healing for the new moon and the retrograde that's coming up. So I've been getting a lot of information about kind of how the moon plays in our ascension and how the retrograde plays into our ascension and how we can best utilize those tools that are naturally given to us to kind of break karmic cycles, break soul cycles, break kind of break our ties to our trauma and to those storylines that have been kind of keeping us rooted in cyclical patterns. So I guess now I want to open up the floor for you guys and I want to open up the floor for you guys, and you guys kind of let me know the emotions that you're working on, like what your idea of, like what you're looking for in healing, I guess. Specifically, the emotions you're looking to release.
Hi, that's very cool. So, do you want us to just take turns,
Yeah. So yeah, the floor is open for you guys. I kind of want to have an open dialogue first before we dive into anything, so I can get a better understanding of what you're really looking at to release and kind of work through, so you can move forward. And that way, later in, like a little bit down the road, once I kind of get a better understanding in the healing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to elicit those emotions within you so you can bring about an observer neutral point now, in this now moment. So going forward, when those emotions are elicited in the reality, you'll be equipped with that neutral point to navigate it, so you won't get trapped in that cycle again, if that makes a little bit better sense.
The one thing that I always really struggle with is just staying on time.
Whoever just joined, if you could please mute your mic.
I don't know. There's a lot.
It's okay. Don't worry. Don't focus on everything. Just the first thing that comes to your mind.
Probably just
maybe fear.
Well, yeah. Fear of change is probably a huge one.
Mm-hmm.
Simply put, fear of change.
Yeah, that's actually really good. It's an umbrella. Fear is an umbrella if you're not aware of it. And a lot of times there are other emotions that kind of get trapped underneath fear, and you can't get to those emotions because the fear keeps you kind of away from that. If you can kind of understand that, it distracts you from the truth of what's going on.
Yeah. And I don't know, I was kind of for most of my life I was pretty obsessed with being like I was just like building my life based on this person that like I really wasn't, and like so I was like looking at the reality of things that like a different like a different person's life, and then like I started realizing that like once I just like speak my mind and like everyone knows what's going on. Well, people were kind of surprised because they're like, that's not the way you are or whatever. And it's like, well, no, this is the way I've always been. I'm just like starting to accept it now. So, I don't know.
So kind of standing in your boundaries of your truth.
Yeah. So like, not only did people look at me in a certain way, so that affected my reality, but my choices were based on what I thought I should be, or I thought how things should be, or how I was too. But yeah, I don't know.
Now, I understand what you're saying. Like, it's kind of like you're starting to realize that your identity has kind of been rooted in what everyone else has thought of you, instead of you being able to express yourself in who you authentically are.
Yeah, and so like I just like created this entire reality, and then I realized like I wonder how different things would be if everyone knew exactly what I was feeling and thinking, or if I started making action based on how I authentically felt rather than taking action based on like fear or guilt.
Yeah. Okay. I totally understand what you're working on there. Anybody else feel open sharing?
Is this coming in?
Yeah, totally. Yep.
Oh, okay. I'm Zach. I haven't had the chance to formally meet you yet, but it's a pleasure to meet you. The word he used was one that I was using to explore. So fear of one kind or another, fear about the physical reaction from what is left for me to explore, especially in, let's say, very high visualizations and things, just trying to remain unobjective and see things as parts of myself, like in the Bardo Stodal in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, where they meditate on ripping their parts apart in these really fantastic demonish looking ways, but it's a very deep way of shedding the body. And so I'm just kind of like at that part where I'm seeing new stuff constantly all the time. And so I was thinking about fear of a sort as well.
Okay. Okay. Totally. Kind of like you're starting to, I guess what I'm seeing visually now is like you're starting to see all of the aspects of yourself, both light and dark, and kind of like finding a way to integrate that without it being too overloading on your system.
Exactly, on a daily basis.
Yeah, totally. I've been there. I totally understand that. Anybody else feel open and sharing anything that you're trying to release right now? Alrighty. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the healing. And it's kind of going to be a two-part healing. I'm going to take you into those fears. All right? I'm going to bring them right to your doorstep. And the reason I'm doing this is if you do it in this now moment with a conscious mind, understanding that you are trying to transmute and integrate these aspects of yourself, when the time comes when that cycle starts to play out, because it's a subconscious thing, you can start to recognize the pattern and then start implementing the tools that you have already kind of acquired in your toolbox to do the work in that moment to transmute those energies again, to just reiterate that you are ready to move forward with whatever it is that is kind of like nagging at you. And this retrograde period is huge because these energies, that's what these energies are here for. They're here to help clear these fears and these angsts and kind of like really open up the doors and the portals and the gateways for us to start moving into our soul purpose and our soul mission. And we are all meant to shine bright, you know? And it's, yeah. those three cards are, I've actually seen those three before. So it's really like love and light and compassion and being able to have that at all times, like in our back pocket, because that's gonna be the bridge in every moment to get you to that next moment, is being able to see the light in all of the darkness and be able to find that love and that compassion for yourself so you can then give it back to others. Because that's ultimately what we want to do. We want to feel whole and complete within ourselves so we can have that everywhere in our reality. And so we can see that reflected back to us, which is kind of like reflecting back on unity consciousness, the law of one. So, yeah. So now I'm going to take a deep breath. If you can close your eyes if you want to, if you feel comfortable. If not, it's totally okay. And try and get as comfortable as possible, because this can be a little, I guess, it can be a little energetically prompting for the body. Yeah. And the first thing I want you to do is to bring your awareness to your heart and feel the beat throughout your body. Allow that rhythm to come in sync with your breath and slow. Take a deep breath. You may be becoming aware that your heart is beating a little faster than you'd like. You can't control that. However, you can control your breathing, which will directly tell your heart that you are okay in this moment. And just remember that your breath is the anchor to this now moment. Now, the next breath that you take in, imagine in a bright white light passing through your heart center, pulling that light and that love and that energy down into your root chakra. Now, allow all of this high charged, anxious energy to just release through your legs into Mother Earth. She's asking for it. Allow her to transmute it. Allow each in-breath to be light and love, anchoring into Mother Earth. Now imagine your heart center as though it were Mother Earth's heart center. This is the womb of our being. In here you are safe and you are sound. Take another deep breath. If you're struggling with any thoughts, just allow them to pass by. Allow yourself to just sink in. Take another deep breath, remembering to expand as you breathe in. Now I'm going to slowly bring in some fear. All I want you to do is start recognizing the thoughts that are coming up. Just see them float by. Take another deep breath. Every in-breath, you're breathing in light and love. Every out-breath, you are releasing this fear. Now allow your heart to open, to expand, to burst open with love and light as you start to see these thoughts drift away. Breathe into any pain or discomfort that you may be feeling, as it is just your body releasing this tension. Now I want you to imagine every cell in your body with fear. Now, every cell, I want you to imagine it with love and light. Feel the density change. Feel the frequency change. Feel the lightness and the love. Take a deep breath. Remember to let go of any thoughts. That fear is just an illusion. There is only love and light. And that is emanating from deep within you. You are the divine being. Now I want you to set the intention that moving forward, forward with the moons and the retrogrades, that this divine connection that you have created in this now moment will be with you in every now moment. Going forward, this light, this love will be right there with you at all times. The emotions that are being brought to your awareness in the coming moments are only to be integrated. The shadow is an illusion created by the light. Take a deep breath. Feel all the tension wash away. Feel every cell of your body fill with love. Now allow your entire environment to fill with this love. Allow it to expand out as far as you can expand it. Take a deep breath. This will allow the expansion. Now fill your body with gratitude. Thank yourself for allowing yourself to face these fears right now. Allow that gratitude to reach and expand into your environment. And now I'm going to ask you to bring your awareness back, allowing this energy to stay in place where it's at. And once you're all the way back, just kind of let me know. How's everyone feeling?
Very well, very relaxed.
That's good, good, good. Did y'all have any experiences or anything, I guess, come up, any realizations or anything like that?
Well, what kept coming up was that, like, I'm afraid that I'm not, like, good enough or whatever. And, like, I'm afraid that I'm, like, too much of an asshole. And, like, but, like, that's not it. I'm just, like, afraid that I'm expressing myself and not, like, too much or something. And, like, I don't know, what kept coming up was that, like, I'm afraid I'm not good enough. Like, that's what it came down to. But yeah, I just felt like a shit ton of energy. Right now, like, I just have like just like adrenaline. Well, that's how I would describe it. But combined with like super relaxed and energy at the same time. But yeah,
Awesome.
And I felt just like a lot of love and shit, like all that. Like,
I know, the love and shit. But that's good. It's good though that, I mean, don't be surprised if coming forward you start seeing situations that are reflecting back to you, kind of places where you're instilling in your subconscious that you're not good enough. So like there are situations that are playing out in your life that you may not be consciously aware of just yet, that are kind of like layering that I'm not good enough on top of each other. So if that stuff does start to come back up, just know that you've created this neutral point and just take a deep breath so you can kind of you'll have that emotional flood come in, you know what I mean, to kind of remind you that you are good enough and you are worthy and you're not over expressing yourself. And if you can't help how someone else feels about how your expression of yourself, that's kind of not your responsibility, right? You're only responsible for making sure that you are authentic within your own self and your own vibration. And if someone else has like an adverse effect to that, it's just a reflection that they don't need to be around you. Like that's not a harmony for you. Yeah. Especially if they're not, if it's causing you to feel unworthy, because at the end of the day, no one is unworthy. We are all worthy of love.
badass.
I guess just to elaborate a little bit, I still felt kind of things moving up and throughout that light still kind of moving its way through. But fundamentally, what I'd say the main experience was just a review of, I'd say, everything in the last month, which is very moon of it to do. But honestly, just seeing those things through and seeing that that's the end result is the answer to the question, is the cumulative result of all of those things side by side, all as parts, all together, all working in unison. So very much it was a review of all the things that will save much long drawing of the experience.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's kind of what I was hoping for, that you could kind of see that every single situation that you find yourself in leads to the next situation that you find yourself in, and they all layer on top of each other. And a lot of times we find ourselves in these very stagnant points because, like earlier we were talking about scared of change, right? You have that fear around change, or like fear around not being something that you think or thought you should be. And because we have those fears, it literally will, it's like a wall. We like hit a wall. And because there's no, like within this reality in America, right? We don't have those doors open up to us on an everyday basis, showing us there is a spiritual realm where all we know is matrix, right? That's what we were born and raised in, is matrix.
They're not even giving us they don't even equip us with the tools to deal with just the emotional reality in that one phase. Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And what I've been some of the research that I've been kind of coming up with, or I guess not coming up with, but seeing, like, the control is within the emotional body. Like they're keeping everyone kind of like divided and conquered through their emotions. And as everybody starts to harmonize with their emotional body, they will start to align themselves with so much more, because it's the distortion of the light and love in this matrix that is causing the havoc, if you will, which is the very lessons that we need to learn. But the emotions are keeping us from learning those lessons because we can't see the light and the love in those dark moments. So does anybody else have anything they want to talk about, or any questions or anything?
Nope. But I say that the reading I did just prior to the meditation is 100% right on the track of everything during it in a very big way. And so I have the shaman deck, and it starts out where the first card is you, basically. And so they changed up the suits, and in this the symbol of the bow is the voyage, basically. And it's it's the journey. And that's really, like, I felt like a recalculation of, kind of as a wind up at the end of seasons changing. You're not just winding one season down, but you're coming up with what are you going to create next. And I think in this instance we're creating a whole new world. So we have to, like, remember that there's so much business of creation to do, to be about, that it's a little bit overwhelming to see the laundry list of things and think that it's impossible. But taking one thing in order at a time, like, yeah.
And that kind of brings back to, like, the soul aspect, right? So the one thing that every single being on planet Earth can do is walk within their soul and within their divine purpose. Because if you are on Earth, you have a soul, and that soul has a purpose, and that purpose is to live, ultimately to exist within love and harmony. And it's following our hearts that we do that, but we've been blocked from our hearts and that heart center, and we have walls, and we have mazes, and we have, like, traps almost keeping us from all of this harmony that's literally sitting there waiting for us to just grab onto and, like, build and create this beautiful reality. And that's what we're on the precipice of. And that's really why I wanted to connect with you guys today, is to kind of really start that creation of a whole expansion of consciousness across, you know what I mean? Across the wave, across all of the world.
Well, I feel like I can, like, ask you questions, like, a lot. But, like, I don't know what to really ask, because, like, I don't know. Like, I could feel like I could just, like, talk with you about, like, any, like, topic. And it would be, like, interesting.
Yeah.
I guess I haven't really had any big questions lately. So yeah, I don't know. I'm all out right now.
What I hear right now is a lot of people have expressed kind of getting to the end of one kind of study and moving on to the next. What we've kind of done without realizing it is demonstrate that all of us, although being separate, are starting to get a rhythm for what this looks like as a larger concept. There are a lot of people who are familiar with this concept of the all working to better themselves, and just like we share energy with the earth itself, we're all sharing with each other. And so the thing I was hearing when you couldn't come up with a question was rhythm.
Yeah, and that's really what this is all about, right? Like when you look at time, right? We understand time is an illusion, but time also is very important on Earth, because without time, we wouldn't have the ability to experience infinity, right? The only reason we have the ability to experience everything or experience everything that it could potentially create. So if it's not created physically in a 3D, we can see it within our mind eye. And it's like bringing that understanding into rhythm. So there is a different frequency on a mass scale on Earth, which changes the entire vibe. Like that's what Ascension is. Like that's really what it is everybody being happy and whole in themselves. And that is the all, is understanding that without darkness you can't have light, but the light creates the darkness, and that's the beauty, because it incorporates everything, and then you step outside of that and you can see all of the beauty that it actually is. And that's kind of like the point of Ascension is you kind of like you jump in, you jump out, you jump in, you jump out, and it's learning that rhythm. You know what I mean? And once you learn that rhythm, you get it. You start to just get it, and everything starts falling in your lap. And that's kind of like, that's really like what I've seen Ascension to be truly about, is creating these very connections, right? Because we've all connected before in this now moment. That's why it feels easy for you to talk to me. Like we know each other, right? Without even knowing that we know each other. And that's the beauty in everything, is we've already created this so we can do this.
The Hokey Pokey is literally a song about the Holy Spirit too.
I know, it's one of my favorites.
It's funny to just watch people with no idea of what it may or may need, and then observe in this group practice that, like, you guys realize that this is the Holy Spirit too, being a group and doing something together and having an experience, and they're like, what?
Yeah.
But you said the word involvement, and that just happened to be the next card that I drew. And I've drawn this before for someone else, and it says the key to a problem is hidden in everyday living, subtle perception, and good communications. And so this card, in the place in its draw, this was drawn as the obstacles. So these are the only obstacles: everyday living, good communication, which is what we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm. We're trying to create a harmonic existence, and like something that's been coming up is Atlantis, right? So in Atlantis, everyone was able to express themselves freely and do whatever it was that their heart truly called to do, because that's what was meant to be. And so we've gotten far removed from that, and that's kind of like the direction we're headed, is a place where everyone has the ability to express themselves freely, has the ability to like do what they truly want without having someone else's expectation creep into their mind. Because if we're a unity consciousness, right, if we're one consciousness, that thought that they are thinking, you are feeling it, and that's why you don't feel good enough, because there's someone out there that's projecting something like that onto you. And it's just if you heal yourself, you get rid of that within you, so it'll take the source of that away. And that's how you learn to polarize yourself, because that's what the moons they're doing, they're showing you where you're polarized still, so you can neutralize it. And so once you neutralize all of that, you then see it all as information and tools at your disposal to create a reality for yourself.
Yeah, and like you right now, you're like really putting it in a way that's like really practical, like to like current experience. And like a lot of times you and the other masters will like talk about stuff and I'm just like I'll just be so confused because I just don't understand it. And like I'll but like I'll like try to bridge, like make a bridge between like when you guys talk about just like there's certain things that you guys say and it's like I don't understand what that term means, like in my current experience, like how it how it practically like actually like applies to me, like how I can experience what you say. So but like when I first started doing quantum Reiki and like doing like different visualizations and stuff, I realized like how powerful intention is, because I didn't realize like, you know, like because visualization, like you're just like making like a bunch of, well, it seems like it, like you're just making a bunch of small intentions, but somehow it's still like activating, like how you guys say like spiritual technology, like if you put in the right inputs, it'll like create something. But like in my mind, in just like a normal like person's mind who doesn't really know that much about that stuff, they like, to them it's just like imagination or it's just a thought or it's just whatever. But like in reality, it's like how you're programming your reality. But like,
Yeah, but the beauty is it is as simple as imagination, because that's truly, like, that's what I'm really finding out is, like, you know, all those childlike qualities, like you like dreaming big and using your imagination and creating like stories and tales. All of those very things are the spiritual technology that we're given. So that imagination, that dream, that building like that is the very thing that we're talking about with setting intention. Like the intention is like the building block for that dream.
yeah, and I was like, damn, like just small intentions are like super powerful. Like, and now, and it made me like want to be, and because it was like I'm like negative a lot, so I'm probably creating like a lot of negative stuff. But it made me like way more careful of like what I think of, and like because I was like it all has power. Like it's like super. Because like Master Antojai, just like imagine it go into your hand, or like pretty much like he would say something like that, or just like imagine it, or just like intend for your third eye to point up or something, and I'd be like, that's it, like, but that's like the point, like how powerful it is, you know.
And that's the beauty. That's what I love about Master Antojai is he really does try to show you how simplistic it is, because that's the truth of it. Like, it's been overcomplicated for a very long time, and for good reason. And now it's time for everyone to be able to understand it in a way that they can at least use it for themselves to create harmony across the grid.
We're in such a rush, and we've been convinced that we don't have time to have thoughts, but time happens after thoughts. The order is the other way around than we've been taught. So in that space, you comfortably have the time to decide: are these my thoughts? What do I want to do with these thoughts? Do I want to cultivate and grow these thoughts into living ideas, or do I let these thoughts pass? Or are these thoughts a symbol or an indicator of something that's going on in my inner sphere?
Exactly. Yeah. That's yeah. Nailed it right there. Yeah. Well, I think that's, if no one else has any other questions, we only got about 10 minutes left. You have anything else, Master Antojai?
Hello.
Hello.
Just kind of, because I kind of came in at the very last of it all. So I caught, like, you guys were talking about, like, verbal intention particularly was what really was highlighted to me, because hanging out with Rashawn, like Master Rashawn, he is so big on spell casting. Like, whatever it is that is coming out of your mouth, you are manifesting that right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the other day I was hanging out with him, and we were gonna go to this place in Grosse Pointe. And like Grosse Pointe is like this area which is like pseudo Detroit, and it's really, really rich people, and they've basically have been known to create like a barrier to cut off like sections of like public streets of Detroit to get into their area and stuff like that. Yeah, nice. So we were just chilling, and he was like, "Okay, this place is called the Cracked whatever. It's really good. We should go there." And I was like, "Oh, Grosse Pointe." I was like, "I wonder how they're gonna treat us going in there because we don't have a fancy car or we don't have anything like that." And he was just like, "Oh, you know what? I don't want to even go anymore. I don't even want to go anymore because now you've just put out that energy and the power of spell casting. You're going to give us like a bad experience because you already just manifested it." And I was just kind of like, it wasn't my intention. I was just kind of like trying to think about, what was going to happen. And this is what's really interesting is like hanging out with Sean and hanging out with Shay. Shay has kind of like said the same thing to me too. Like, sometimes my human self tries to preemptively like judge the entire situation, so I make sure that I'm completely comfortable. But in both instances they were like, it's just gonna work out anyway. It's gonna be comfortable if you don't even direct any negativity into your reality whatsoever with thinking about it. And I was like, man, like I gotta really work harder on not being caught up in the future, but being caught up in the now and just being like, okay, when I get there, it's going to work itself out and everything's going to be super chill, no matter if it's a new environment or not. And I recognize that came from kind of just like PTSD, like when you experience PTSD, you naturally have this experience of like always trying to calculate what's about to happen next, because that's how you can kind of like keep your cool. And that was just one of those things that just showed me, okay, like that there's still a little bit there from that PTSD thing that happened to me such a long time ago, and I can work on it by just being more present. And that's one of the things that I feel like all of us have been channeling lately, is just about being present. Like everything's now. Like don't think about tomorrow. Even though that other people exist in tomorrow, like if you can maintain today presently, like everything else works out, because you're directing yourself with every tiny moment of your life, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Everything agrees with that over here.
Yeah, it's that where your focus goes, your energy flows.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing too I've noticed is kind of like today I had this really profound thing, because today's the new moon. I don't know if Micah had told you already about it, but like it's a good time to start cutting your addictions. And like this morning I woke up already kind of being like, okay, I'm gonna cut out sugar. I'm gonna cut out like smoking. I'm gonna cut out doing like a few things here that I just feel like are holding me back to some degree, from Ascension. Not like they're not handicaps, but I can tell that it would be better if I let go of it, especially for this next 10-day period with like this Antara gate being open. And after this episode, you're going to listen, there's going to be a release of the podcast that we did yesterday talking about the constellation stuff and like why you might want to start trying to fast today and tomorrow. But yeah, it's like it's one of those really interesting moments right now. And one of the things that also came to me, not only sugar and like smoking, it was also the fact that hey, you should really start thinking about the words that you're using on a regular basis and how you communicate with just anyone in general. Like there's certain words that are now, I don't know, I feel like they're out of my realm of reality because I vibrate a little bit too high to be using these words. So like now I'm even calculating what my new vocabulary is going to be going forward after this 10-day period.
It's interesting that's been coming up for you, because I've been having the same thing. Like yesterday, I was actually having trouble speaking altogether, and I could tell that I could tell that my brain was rearranging the words that I was going to start using going forward, because it was like, all right, you no longer need these phrases or these words because the vibrational frequencies no longer resonate. Like we were talking, I think it was last week, and we were specifically using the word hate, and you can kind of feel that vibrational frequency when you say it or like experience that word. And it's kind of like those types of words that need to be removed from the vocabulary. That way you're not there, that negative imprint isn't there at all.
Because otherwise you're caught up in the flow of everything, and the things that are holding you down are keeping you out of that flow that's on the go. It's got places to be. It's going to make sure that where you end up at the end of that flow is going to be ready for you when you get there, but you better stay in it.
Yeah.
And then like ultimately that just comes back to like this whole entire month on Patreon about sound alchemy and like how your words really do define your reality. And like, you know, one of the main words that I've really been holding on to a lot is joy. Like what does joy and happiness and positivity mean? And like, you know, that's why that meme I popped out just a couple days ago about like what makes you feel alive. Like if you feel alive, you feel joyful, you feel like you have a purpose, you know, and all you have to do is be in that moment of being one with that, and you get there so much closer by like not only focusing on certain kinds of words that like will get you closer to that objective, but also to like think about how you use certain vocabulary or phrases that can limit your thinking pattern and your vibration. And especially if we're talking about spell casting, like man, like every word that you even do internally is a spell cast in your inner reality, then manifests itself externally. And then it's so profound. So lately I also watched this documentary that I'm going to share with you guys in a couple of days, which is like about sound alchemy, Egyptian sound alchemy. And in the Egyptian sound alchemy, it makes you really think about the kind of music you've been listening to, and it almost motivates you to like start recording yourself singing to yourself so you can get the most harmonious music that's authentically coming out of your soul, you know. And it's so powerful. Like so much of this is just really re-atomizing your entire structure of living to make it work for you, really.
You totally came up at the end of the draw. I've turned over the draw as we've gone through each part, and one of us has said one of the words in the cards almost every time. And the last card ended up being the Fool, and he who is touched by the spirits, the traveler of the spiritual world, freedom, the melting away of material ties, and then the last word is flowing. Which that's why I was laughing, and I couldn't even contain myself because I literally just said the word myself. But
nice, it's really cool. Cool. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed our first workshop with Master Mirrorkall. Thank you, Master Mirrorkall, for doing this workshop and sharing your knowledge and your lovely magic.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me. I had a blast. It was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Bye, guys.
Bye.